Well, first of all, everyone, welcome to Smoking Gun. We are the home of ballsy brands with brains. Thank you so much, first of all, for giving up your time today to come and listen to us talk you through our Shrewd Shopper report. Now, of course, we're going to share the report after the call today, and there's plenty to gain from reading it. It's quite an extensive report. There's like 30 plus pages, but obviously there's going to be more to gain from us actually talking you through it today and giving you the opportunity to ask questions at the end that hopefully will be able to give you a little bit more detail and insight too. So we are data geeks at heart here at Smoking Gun. All our campaigns are rooted in research, in data and insight. It's really important that we fully understand our clients' audiences before we begin any type of campaign. We need to know where they hang out, what makes them tick, and of course, most importantly, what drives them through to purchase. And of course, it's this data-led approach that's helped Smoking Gun win 7 global AMIC awards for effectiveness, and why the likes of Alton Towers, Interflora, PG Tips, the NHS, Swizzles, amongst many others, trust us to deliver their comm strategies. So I am just going to try now and click through onto the deck. Wish me luck, everybody. There we go. Gosh, seamless. So those of you I've not met before, and some of you I most certainly have, my name is Caroline Aspinall. I am Commercial Director here and Head of B2B. I'm joined today with my lovely colleague Rose, who's led on the delivery of the report.
Good morning, everybody.
And Dave from Brand Edge. Do you want to say hello, Dave?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you.
So we should also probably at this point also mention our colleagues at Reap. Reap are a retail data app. They're real specialists who work with the top 4 supermarkets in the UK, who have provided us lots of insight and lots of data that have helped inform the report today. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to obviously take you through the report. So there's going to be a lot of talking from the 3 of us. Hopefully it all makes sense, but please, at the end, we're going to leave 10 to 15 minutes to ask any questions that you've got along the way. So if you could just keep a note of those, and then at the end, we'll have like more of an informal chat and hopefully give you a little bit more insight. I'm thinking about kind of really focusing those questions on your interpretation of the presentations today and how you think you can potentially, use that to inform your 2024 Marcom strategy, whether that be for yourself as a brand or whether that be for any of your clients. So, shall we get started? So against a backdrop of tumultuous world events, which have obviously been things like Brexit, the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the cost of living crisis, and obviously the situation that is unfolding over in Israel, consumer attitudes have altered irrevocably, and they are still continuing to shift. As brand marketeers, that means that our approach will have to shift too. It seems like consumers are absolutely demanding more brands than ever before. They are buying less, they're shopping around, and every purchase is now considered. Brand loyalty is diminished in favour of price, and brands that seem to never have been your competitors in the past certainly are now. And customers that you previously would have thought wasn't worthwhile you targeting are walking through your doors and visiting your online stores. So we looked at some data from Frog Shop, and the survey actually showed that now 62% of people are making a shopping list. Customers are setting themselves a budget before they leave home, making sure that they stick to that budget and are really shopping around for those lower deals, those lower prices, those offers that they can really make sure that they're getting the maximum bang for their buck. So what is evident to us as marketeers then is that product and service choices have definitely become far, far more premeditated and far less impulsive. So with the rise of this shopping list, the reason we're here today is we want to know what we can do to make sure that we get that position on the shopping list and make sure that we're not crossed off. It is clear that brands that do adapt the strategy today to stay relevant to what consumers are experiencing are the ones that are going to win the hearts as well as minds. And if they can understand that their customers are individuals rather than a mass commodity, we really do have an opportunity to leave the competition in the dust. With change does come opportunity. So we've drawn today on newly commissioned data expertise from our thought leaders in the team and our brand partners, and looked at our own experiences with clients that we deliver work for to bring together what we hope is going to be a really good guide that helps you win places on your shopping list for your brand or your clients' brands. Okay, shopping by attitude. I'm going to hand over to Dave.
Thanks, Caroline. I guess it's interesting, kind of, we Caroline talked about individuality. It's really important at any time to kind of speak to your customers as individuals, to recognise that they're not all the same, not treat them as a homogenous mass. I guess it's just that a lot of issues have been amplified beyond belief at the moment. So it's even more important at the minute that we understand the attitudes that sit behind behaviours and demographics. We see so many segmentations, and many of them are driven by behavioural truths, which is useful, but really doesn't get to the heart of the issues. And even demographic, kind of lazy demographic definitions just don't help you succeed in this environment. On the next chart, we'll see that even kind of at a very broad level, YouGov looked at the relationship between your view of the cost of living crisis and how you were thinking about your economic circumstances and how that affected your outlook on life. You see, I mean, clearly here, there is a very clear correlation between how much money you have and your wealth with how comfortable you feel in life. So there's an element of demographic stuff woven in there. But you have to understand these kind of things if you want to prosper at the minute. We did do quite a lot of segmentation across a lot of categories. We did one in whiskey. Our client had a behaviourally driven segmentation, and they were wholly targeting old school whiskey drinkers on the basis alone of the fact that they knew that they liked whiskey and they drank and they bought a lot of whiskey. The problem was we did a segmentation that was driven on attitudes. We found out that actually they were very soulless. They drank at home infrequently in little measures. We called them habitual sippers when we got to the heart of an attitude analysis. There was actually another group who were much more adventurous, who didn't like the image of the category that was created by these habitual sippers, but actually really liked whiskey. They were adventurous. Our data showed that they bought more often, drank more often, and that they were actually bigger advocates of breakthrough brands. So that enabled our category to develop a whole new, our client to develop a whole new category of modern spirits, targeting a group that spent more, drank more, and were bigger promoters of the brand. We'd never have got there with a blunt demographic or behavioural segmentation. You have to look at the attitudes behind it.
Okay, thanks, Dave. So thinking about that in terms of ourselves as brand marketers and what the real opportunities are for us there. So as David said, go beyond your traditional targeting. Don't treat the audience as a homogenous mass. Segment, ideally by attitude, not just behaviourally. And then once you understand the customer to that kind of deeper level and extent, you can really start to discover your role in their lives as a brand and how best you can serve them. And then armed with these kind of fresh insights, it's important to have an understanding that your messaging and how you actually talk to your customer may need to adapt. So there might be nuances in your USPs and in your tone of voice, for example, that need to alter with this kind of fresh audience opportunities in mind. And now that
the other thing I would add to, sorry, Ros, I was going to say the other thing I would add to that is you have to understand how they shop your category. So we work together on we've worked together on brands like Silent Night. The shopper dynamics of the mattress category that you buy once every 8 years. We're looking at stuff now around insurance and FMCG. How people shop the category is equally important in terms of creating your segmentation and kind of targeting the people that kind of shop in different ways. It's hugely important too. Sorry to butt in, Rose.
No, absolutely. It's a good point. And then thinking about, how you actually reach these people. Some of what was in your comms strategy may shift. So what are these different groups reading? How are they consuming their content? When are they online? So with all of these fresh insights in mind, plan your comms strategy accordingly and understand that may need to shift.
Perfect.
So I will take you into our second chapter, which is all about brands enhancing life moments. So it's no surprise when we look, certainly in the cost of living crisis and over the past few years, that spending on big luxuries and discretionary items has dipped. But what the data that we've looked at recently through REAP has revealed is that spending has actually increased on life's little treats. So we've looked at a few different categories here to demonstrate. You'll see some charts here. First of all, looking at beer sales. So these have remained really healthy throughout the past kind of year or so. The traditional peaks that you'd expect in kind of summer and December time, but even more so, really kind of amplified. So that's really suggesting a sway away from beer gardens and Christmas gatherings in the pub to people enjoying these moments at home. We've seen a similar pattern with brew at home coffee. So there's obviously now more people working at home, less people visiting those coffee shops, but they are still treating themselves to that mid-range supermarket coffee in the shops. Same picture for fakeaways. So we looked at fakeaway sauces and meal kits. Both of those have absolutely soared in recent months. So again, that's showing that people are trading their weekend takeaways, their meals out for cheaper and healthier options at home. And actually, interestingly, with fakeaways, there was a real boost in sales around key sporting events. So things like the World Snooker Championship and the Grand National, with people preferring to enjoy those at home rather than in the hospitality venues. So across the board, what the data is telling us is that people are looking to find pleasure and create these mini celebratory moments with affordable treats at home. So for brands, this actually offers a real opportunity to infiltrate and facilitate those moments of comfort and enjoyment, and by doing so form a much deeper emotional connection with consumers. So this is something that we've really capitalized on at Smoking Gun with some of our clients. We've done all sorts from virtual pub crawls with our rum clients, Old J. We've done surprise and delight and doorstep delivery moments with our client Interflora. And just to talk you through a couple more case studies here, something we did with PG Tips was we looked at opportunities to actually plant the brand at the heart of these big national celebrations. So prime example was the King's coronation. So we looked at a campaign around this big cultural moment. We actually collaborated with a music producer to create our own rendition of the national anthem, all in sounds of making a cuppa. So you kind of tinkling spoon, the milk being poured, the kettle boiling. So this created a great media story. We've got influencers involved in this as well. So, you know, fantastic content. But ultimately, we were placing the brand at the heart of this really memorable celebration that was being celebrated in homes up and down the country. And then, you know, probably the best example of this kind of brands as part of life moments, you just have to look at John Lewis's latest slogan and ad campaign, which is for life's moments, for all life's moments, sorry. For anyone that has seen the ad campaign, it's a real tearjerker of showing parents at home with their child and that kind of journey through all those tiny moments, first steps, first birthdays through to first day at school. So that's a really kind of nice example of appreciating the kind of power of being part of that narrative of the everyday moments. So to summarise that for you, the key takeaways and opportunities for us as brands is to look at ways to position your brand as part of these little moments. It can be anything as simple as a midweek pick-me-up or, you know, Saturday night in watching the match with mates. And by doing so, not only will you influence purchase consideration now, today, but you will increase salience for future. It's worth saying that if you're a service-led brand as well, some of this still absolutely applies. Think about talking beyond simply what you do. and look at how you can enhance and facilitate life's simple pleasures for that deeper emotional connection that we've been talking about. So it might be work time breaks, or easing the commutes, relaxing on the commute. And then identify opportunities to join in these big cultural moments that feel true to your brand. And that's important to say. So it might be a big sporting moment, a landmark anniversary, or a national celebration of some type. That gives a real opportunity as comms specialists to play to the news agenda as well, and social media trends, to achieve kind of dominant share of voice during those times when everybody's kind of competing to be seen and heard.
Great. Thanks, Rose. So now we want to talk to you about the rise of escapism and consumers demanding that they are treated far more as co-creators. I think the days of us just marketing really hard direct sales messages are gone. And actually now there's a massive opportunity for those brands that really can focus on connecting with their audiences in a way that basically expands beyond selling and actually moves into the realms of entertaining. As you can imagine, as I started off saying, with all the big world issues and the financial pressures that we're all facing at the moment, there is definitely a rising desire for fun and for escapism, which now I just feel that, brands can fulfill that. I think we can bring optimism and lightness to a really heavy world for our customers and become more memorable in doing so. I think entertainment is going to be far more a considered tactic because of the value it will add to consumers in 2024. And of course, the idea of taking a brand beyond the immediate product or service and widening that content sphere is not a new one. But with the expectation of today's consumers, particularly Gen Z's buying power is growing, we're also seeing that demand for entertainment alongside demand for co-creation. Consumers do not want to be talked at anymore. They feel like they need to now work with brands and respond to exciting and innovative opportunities for collaboration. So that's thinking beyond email polls or brand videos. This is actually helping your consumers shape your messaging, shape your products, shape your services. We've just got up on the slide here to show that research has just come in from IBM, which I think, is a really obviously traditional kind of business, that 66% of people say it's important that brands do actually consult them on their opinions now. And 44% of those then want to be involved in the design of products and of services. So if you think of your customers as participants, not consumers, we can see that there's definitely a non-negotiable expectation that experience should be stimulating, it should be immersive, so that our consumers feel that they're involved. They're no longer passive onlookers, they're actually participants in that digital space. And while co-creation might feel quite remote from the cost of living crisis, it's actually part of the authenticity and transparency agenda. To make Gen Z your future customer brands, well, we need to encourage the youth to share and to help shape the direction of the business at all levels. As I said, the co-creation movement is definitely gathering force, as is evident in a number of best practice case studies, which are already engaging young people. Brands that let people in and entertain also are winning on TikTok with organic content. A good example of this is ASOS, while they're using UGC to involve their audiences, being in brand socials, in sharing outfit inspiration, showing kind of looks that they can easily recreate. And they're also allowing people behind the scenes and looking at projects and photo shoots and really encouraging people to get involved in the brand at all levels.
So I'll take you through a few more live examples to kind of bring that to life. As Caroline said, TikTok has opened up masses of opportunity for this co-creation movement. It's something we've worked on recently with our client Dare to Be, which is an activewear brand. So we have partnered with TV's Fleur East, and we've partnered her with co-creators on TikTok to create TikTok duets. So really kind of fun, lively, engaging content where the audience are literally able to kind of dance side by side with their idol in the brand wear, and just kind of create that really kind of fun, escapism, lively content. Another example is with our client Alton Towers. So we recently launched their latest ride, which is called The Curse at Alton Manor. And we did this with a stunt in London where we did a pop-up haunted doll's house, which you can see visualised there. And this was part of a fan-first strategy. So with this client, we had no celebrities, we had no suits. It was all about bringing fans closer to the resort action and giving them these exclusive experiences. So they were allowed to kind of come and explore this, create content with us on site. And yeah, just have a real kind of exclusive moment with the brand and be part of the content and the narrative. Couple of other wider examples, which I'll just briefly touch upon. Pot Noodle, they certainly demonstrated the benefit of insight-driven launches in last year, bringing its doner kebab variant to market, which they did after gaining feedback from 100,000 customers through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And that SKU actually became their best performer of the year. What we've also seen is lots of brands really storming their market through collaborations with gaming partners and gaming experiences is a real trend at the moment. So Nike, for example, have partnered with Roblox. They've created this kind of micro metaverse, which is all designed around empowering creators, bringing users together in this virtual space. So we're seeing lots of these immersive experiences. And finally, IKEA, long innovators in this co-creation space. They have for many years looked to customers when designing their products, but they're taking this even further now by problem solving with university students and different entrepreneurs around the world. So the bottom line is, if we can engage, entertain, stir emotion, and kind of give back in this way, we will inspire much more lasting brand loyalty than a simple sales message could ever achieve. And as Caroline said at the beginning, I think this kind of time of unrest that we've all been through has gained, more appetite for this kind of entertainment like content, and it's a huge opportunity to kind of build trust and reach new audiences for brands.
So yeah, there are a raft of opportunities, and hopefully ones that as marketeers we can really get our teeth into. We all like the campaigns where we're allowed a bit of creative flair to entertain. So first of all, when you're looking at your strategy for 2024, do not think about just stripping out costs for your consumers. You're planning your content strategy in 2024 around adding value, around how you're going to entertain. Gen Z takes information in instantaneously and loses interest in a brand just as fast. So we really need to be concise and clear in those messages, but at the same time thinking about visual and video-led content and also immersive experiences that are really going to engage those audiences. At the same time as obviously all the backdrop that we've alluded to so far, there is a huge rise in social media capabilities. One of the tactics that we're using a lot for our clients now is TikTok Shop, where you can move your audiences seamlessly from entertaining straight through to buying. Tactics like unique discount codes seeded via content creators provide that incentive on the spot to shop without sacrificing any organic engagement, and obviously can make that process seamless from a purchase point of view. And finally, I think we need to see customer collaboration as a chance to shape and streamline our product, a service, innovation and offering. Suppliers today are looking for fewer but more impactful launches of new products, and ones that play into the understanding that budgets are a lot tighter. As both households and brands are less willing to gamble on new products, the digital space offers a more agile and cost-effective way to gather these regular insights that you need for your product development, that you need for your sales and marketing strategy, that should mean, based in that insight, that you've got products that will absolutely sell when we go to market. Okay, personalization and the demand for transparency.
To me, thanks, Caroline. Caroline used a really interesting phrase there in amongst everything else that was interesting. She talked about the fact that you have to think beyond. I think one of the things that's true now is that there's a bigger link between attitudes and behavior. So what staggered me on here is that if we're thinking about personalization, 41% of people will now leave a website if it doesn't predict their needs. We know 43% of people will switch brands off the back of a poor privacy experience. We know that 10, 15 years ago, people thought the banks were rubbish but never moved. Now people are voting with their feet. So it's really important that we look at personalisation as a must. So 87% of people expect high levels of personalisation from brands. That's got to go beyond the sort of Starbucks thing of asking your name and sticking it on a cup. We debriefed a piece of work yesterday on very interesting brief, which was about reporting for annual checks on type 2 diabetes. Lots of people don't go. What was evident is that 3 years ago, it was okay if you sent everybody a text message and then followed it up with a letter, and they all said the same thing. What people are demanding now is that actually you recognise my personal preferences, you capture my contact preferences. If I want a text, you send a text. Don't send me call me during the day because I'm a hairdresser. Everything requires a degree of personalisation, and it's transcending any category. It's not just about kind of, every category. Who would think that would have existed in the kind of realms of diabetes treatment? So absolutely non-negotiable expectation that things become personalized. Similarly, we talk about sort of authenticity and transparency. What's fascinating, I guess the other sort of thing to say is that in some of these instances, the stats are based on sort of emergent generations, so Gen Z, younger consumers. I think what we can conclude is this isn't a transient thing that's a result of the cost of living crisis. These behaviours and these expectations here to say this was a fascinating piece, and this is quite a young audience. So this is sort of looking at two things really: how people view authenticity. So what you'll see there is it's a quote from a piece of work that was done by a student. And what's clear is that it isn't now enough to put a rainbow flag on your offices when you want to show support for LGBT plus type initiatives. It isn't enough just to go into it. There's a massive, massive pressure on greenwashing. So many people are getting called out for being wrong. And I thought this was a fascinating statistic here that actually, when we talk to Gen Z about a brand will make a claim that they're doing the right thing, what would you do as a result of that? And 2/3 of them will go online to work out and do their research in amongst all their busy lives. 2/3 of Gen Z will go online and find out whether or not you're telling the truth and whether what you're communicating is authentic and transparent. I thought that was fascinating. It's completely raised the bar in terms of truth being at the heart of our communication and personalization too. I guess anything where we're talking about personalization, it would be remiss if we didn't talk about the role of AI. So Caroline will talk to you about that.
Yeah, I think, when we've got a situation where brands are having to work even harder to gain trust and, consumers demanding far more from that customer experience, then AI is going to really help us play that role. It's making it easier for brands to deliver these experiences that are very much tailored to the preferences and the needs of the consumers. So just a couple of examples here of brands that are doing it really well. Marks and Spencer's recently acquired Thread, which is this personalized styling services that use AI to analyze all your data for your customer body types and style preferences, so that when you visit their online stores, you are automatically provided with personalized fashion recommendations based around the statistics and the data that they've gathered about your particular styles, your body shape, your sizing. So you've got that really personalized experience. Meanwhile, Nike has launched a system that allows customers to design their own trainers in store, which obviously seems like a great gimmick that will help drive sales. But also at the same time, behind the scenes, it's obviously collecting a huge amount of useful data that machine learning algorithms can then use to help design future products that they know will walk off the shelves. These are delivering really personalized recommendations and marketing message at point of sale, as well as helping shape their product strategy for the future to know that they're going to design trainers that people actually want to buy. So At the end of this section, we obviously like to give you some real kind of clear opportunities that you can take forward into your strategy for 2024. And the first one is about really working to understand that your customers are individuals, understand their unique challenges, and don't treat them as a mass. Investing in the right insights upfront does enable you to bring personalization to the center of your marketing and communication strategy, which means that we can hit the right people with the right messages on the right platform at the right time. As we were saying, you really need to think about now going beyond the tokenistic. Authenticity and trust are more about how you behave than what you say. Inviting consumers into your world, respecting their privacy, personalizing the offers and the content that you serve. Those are the things that are going to really drive brand loyalty in 2024. We also need to remember that consumers aren't the only ones, like Dave was saying, going on and kind of calling out big brands. They're not the only people doing that homework. The media too is dogged about brand transparency and will dig into every corner of your business. So we do need to ensure that our communications plan is authentic to our brand and what we stand for. Finally, I think we've all experienced this, haven't we, where you see new customers being rewarded with all sorts of incentives and offers, whereas as an existing customer, none of those are available to us. I think the brands that are winning in this space at the moment are the ones that are really seeking opportunities to reward loyalty. So that personalization where possible, but just remembering that nothing irritates people more than seeing those new customers being incentivized to the cost of the people who've been with you all along. Now, there's loads of lovely creative ways that we can achieve this beyond monetary, from discounts, from exclusive content to share cause-related initiatives, but really thinking about how we create those really long-lasting, loyal partnerships with our consumers. Okay, Jay, final chapter.
Thanks, Caroline. It's a nightmare researching sustainability and ethics, because in the past, what you've seen is that everybody wants to be seen to be saying the right thing. It's very hard to say you don't care about sustainability and ethics. And there's a few categories where we see it, but typically you've got to kind of view things with caution. I think that's what makes this section and the statistics within it fascinating. So what we know is that half of brand switches in 2023 weren't motivated by ethics. In fact, they didn't give a single thought to ethics. That's half of anybody switching brands wasn't driven by ethical considerations. Only between a quarter and a third carried on with all of their sustainable shopping habits throughout 2023. That's fascinating to kind of think about that. What's the most interesting piece about this, though, is that you could be looking at this and thinking that's actually because people don't care, and actually there are things closer to home, and I can't afford to kind of prioritize big world considerations like kind of sustainability over my own world considerations. And there's undoubtedly a truth there. We talked earlier on about you shouldn't just look at demographics or wealth or whatever. There is undoubtedly a clear link between people who can afford to behave in sustainable ways and people who can't. But nonetheless, what the most fascinating piece was that actually, whilst we see this shift and fewer people are kind of on the face of things caring about sustainability within their purchase decisions, the most fascinating bit of it is actually that they're putting the focus and the pressure on brands to be their conscience for them. So 98% of people think brands should be involved in social issues. 2/3 choose employers who act on environmental issues. So they're sort of shifting responsibility rather than abdicating it. So they're expecting brands to be much more on the front foot in terms of sustainability messaging and power. So it's fascinating. But again, we need to be their conscience for them. So again, even the most ethically minded people are making pragmatic considerations, making trade-offs, and we just need to kind of understand how those dynamics play out.
Okay, so we'll just share some real brand examples to show, how brands are helping to actually achieve that and command a presence in the wider community of their consumers as well, and kind of facilitate the issues that they care about. So beginning with Aldi, they have launched a meal donation scheme among the cost of living crisis with Neighbourly, donating meals to food banks and community groups throughout the school summer holidays. there's all sorts of donation initiatives that Aldi are running, also through their Mamiya baby range, which they're using to kind of donate products to support families on low incomes. They're also making those kind of tangible changes for their customers with price cuts on essential household products. And then they've really recognised that kind of importance of their internal culture for their external brand reputation by increasing staff pay, both in their stores and in their warehouses as well. Asda is another example. Interestingly, they have launched an Essential Living Hub, which is an online money-saving advice site to help parents struggling with the cost of living, obviously a key demographic for them and one of the hardest hit. We see another charity donation drive through Asda with the Children's Poverty charity to fund school uniforms and essentials. They have really kind of upped the ante through their foundation as well and looked at transforming community spaces. And this was after having feedback from customers saying that the cost of living crisis has actually impacted their social interactions. And again, we see investments here in cutting prices and investing in staff salaries. And then Boots, as a final example, again, another charity scheme here, which is supporting consumers in their kind of ideal world ethics. Their loyalty scheme, their Boots Advantage card, which has obviously been running for an awfully long time, but they've really kind of stepped that up again and looked at how they offer even more through that, more exclusive discounts. They've looked at price freezes, and they've also launched a value range of kind of everyday essentials. So there was lots of brand examples we could have shared there of brands that really are walking the walk. But what was really noticeable was that these are the brands that were not just working to support their customers' immediate needs, i.e. cash in their pockets, but they were commanding a wider presence in their communities with these various charitable and kind of goodwill and good work initiatives. So just to sum up the opportunities there in our final chapter. So as we've said, lots of consumers, they need that tangible support now, those practical benefits. But the kind of bigger and wider opportunity here is to support them in these ideal world ethics at a time when that's really kind of compromised for them. And that's going to be key to brand loyalty for the future. What's really critical is to find out what matters, however, within your category, to know where to invest, because with the best will in the world, we can't invest in everything. So is ethical packaging, for example, or sourcing of ethical materials important to your audience? What issues do they need advice on? What charities resonate with them? It's not about kind of looking virtuous in the corporate reporting, but really understanding your customer and what the benefit will be to them, what will resonate. And then really key to develop a really solid positioning and communications plan to communicate what you're doing and why. We talk to so many brands that are doing amazing things and have good things happening, but they aren't sharing this with consumers in a way that's particularly compelling, or not sharing it at all. And prepare for contentious questions as well that may arise either from customers on social media or the press, who are all doing their homework, as we've discussed. It's about creating a really kind of clear narrative for your customers in what you're doing, what to look for, to kind of make it easy for them to buy into you. And finally, as we've said throughout the report, we know that consumers are scrutinising every penny spent. So brand reputation is everything. So things like employee reviews and customer reviews are carrying more weight than ever before. So there's a real opportunity to seek ways to harness your positive stories and build that online reputation. And that's both at a brand and a C-suite level. So be open, transparent, show that you care, and show that you treat people fairly. This is really how consumers are evaluating goodness at the moment, rather than whether you're tackling the big world climate issues, for example.
So we hope that you do feel that there is plenty of opportunities for brands in 2024. I think the 4 key takeaways that summarise our report are to understand your customers at an attitudinal level and how they're responding to the world around them, to embed yourself in their life moments, demonstrate generosity and humanity, and invite them into your world, to add value by entertaining and becoming their outlet, offering escapism and optimism, and reward loyalty and facilitate them in their choices, whether those choices be their world or big world. I think my overriding message is to take really that a price only position will not see your brand thrive in 2024. Brands now need to define themselves in a way that's sensitive to today's pressures, but while they continue to make more meaningful connections with consumers for future growth and future brand frame. I think we only need to look, don't we, like at the recession of 2008 in terms of the pandemic as well, to see the brands that did continue to invest in marketing gained a larger share of voice over competitors. This increases brand fame, preference, and leaves you as a brand in the best position possible for long-term profitability. Now, we are going to be sharing this report out after the call. It's also available on the landing page. But what I'd like to do is just invite, I'm going to unmute everyone and see if there's any questions that you've got for us or for Dave. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to...
I don't know whether you can unmute yourself anyway if there is a question. Sorry, was there somebody there then?
No. Not a question from me, but it's Jazara from Moonpig here. Just thought I'd say I found it really interesting. Your part about co-creation, the co-creation movement. Obviously, here at Moonpig, we're always trying to introduce lots of innovative new features, which are all about personalisation. So, thank you for that. That was really, really insightful.
Oh, thank you, Sarah.
No, yeah, it's a tricky one with co-creation because I think sometimes there can be a worry from brands that you are, handing over the keys, to co-creators and influencers, and how you kind of can keep the control of that brand message. But, things have shifted so much there in terms of, providing really clear briefs, being clear on, your expectations with these co-creators, having a really clear sign-off process so that everybody's aligned on the type of content that's needed, while giving them the freedom to kind of do what works for their audience as well. But it's it's a really exciting time for that at the moment.
Do we have any more questions?
There's one that's coming for Dave here. And I think this is going back to our first chapter about segmenting by attitude, Dave, and just asking how you actually go about that. What are the best methods for starting your segmentation these days?
It's a timely question because someone's just rolled a big noisy trolley past me, so it's gone now. I think, the way we tend to do attitudinally based segmentation is through cluster analysis. It tends to be quant driven. You have to capture attitudinal stuff around how people feel about life, how they shop your category, how they use your product. Fascinatingly, if you look at we do a lot of work in spirits and gin, one of the biggest insights was around segments that kind of see gin bottles as trophies, and kind of they're ornamental around the house, and they kind of keep them future reference. So packaging becomes hugely important, and design becomes more important for them than the actual liquid quality. The other thing I'd say about a good segmentation is do more work up front. So develop some hypotheses, because once you've got your segmentation, too many people do it and it kind of becomes an academic thing. You need to think about how you're going to apply it within the business. You need to think about what hypotheses you want to test through those different segments, so it becomes richer and richer by the day. But yeah, we would always kind of do it quant, use cluster analysis, and support that with some really interesting qual analysis as well.
Great, thanks, Dave.
Perfect. Do we have any more questions? I can't see that we do. So
not a question, but I just wanted to say the same. It was really useful and really insightful. So thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. That's good to hear.
Great. Well, in that case, everyone, I will again thank you so much for your time today. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days to come and listen to us. We will share the report, and we've got all our contact details in there. So if there's anything that you want to come back to us on, any questions that kind of come up after you've had a chance to digest the report in its entirety, then please do reach out to us. More than happy to jump on a call and chat through any kind of questions or opportunities that you've got. So have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.